All right. Obviously, the draft is tonight, so I wanted to run that clip. Obviously, there's a lot, riding. Zay, I'm not sure how you feel about that class, right? As a matter of fact, we are not on this topic with Brandon Ayuk just yet. I mean, it felt like we've been on the show forever. We've been cooking up. We actually gotta stay in the NBA here, but yeah, man. Obviously, the draft is important, right? I understand that it's probably hard to really name at least five players in this year's draft. It's not really a hyped up draft,
Yeah.
but the draft is still important to building a team, to building a foundation, to homegrown in talent. And these talents can develop into stars like Tatum and Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's where we're going to end up right here because obviously this happened a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats to the Celtics for winning an NBA Finals. Obviously, I was sick. I couldn't do the show. I couldn't give no thoughts on that. So we just briefly want to step in here, give them some credit, and talk about in a weird way, Zay. I'm gonna give this right up to you because you mentioned something right before we got on the air that nobody is talking about the Celtics anymore. It's almost like, okay, yeah, you won. Forget about it. Like it's over. Whereas, and this is the point that you brought up, last year, the Nuggets won the championship, and everybody was talking about the Nuggets for at least about a month or two before that died down. What is it about the Celtics that a lot of people was just like, oh, okay. Like, is it about damn time? Like, we're not gonna celebrate something that should have happened already because they've been together 7 years, or is it the Celtics hate that we see, in the media? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first and foremost, congrats to the Boston Celtics for winning the championship. Not easy winning a championship, no matter who you play, what's happening, so on and so forth. I think when we're talking about the average consumer of basketball watches the game and watch the playoffs, it wasn't as exciting in the Eastern Conference side as people would hope. The Knicks were highly favored in amongst the public's eyes. They wanted the Knicks to go far. They wanted the Knicks to play. Miami, Indiana, like all these teams, they were looking at them, and everyone's hobbled and hurt, and everyone in the Boston Celtics are just mowing guys down left and right, and nobody likes seeing a blowout. Unfortunately, no, everyone wants to see competitive basketball, but there's situations where like when the games are not competitive, the series is not competitive, everything's going like 3-0, 4-1, whatever it is. It got a lot of people tuned out of the NBA playoffs and NBA finals. It's not like anyone's fault because injuries are unpredictable. Guys get hurt. It happens. It just so happened that Boston Celtics were just mowing teams down left and right. Even they had their fair share of injuries with Kristaps Porzingis during the playoffs. So a lot of guys, they want to see their guys play. They want to see it at full capacity. They want to see great basketball. And unfortunately, the Celtics had to face and endure the issues of that because when they win in the facet that they won in, a lot of people were just like, yeah, whatever. It wasn't that impressive to beat a team when your majority of your stars are healthy. And that's like the consensus, right? And just to answer the question of what does it do for the legacies of Tatum and Brown, it bodes extremely well because these are two talented players. Tatum is a guy who came into the league known as the best scorer in his current draft in that draft class. And he was highly touted as a guy who's going to be a phenomenal scorer in this league. Jaylen Brown was a guy who had to fine tune his skills every single year he's been in the league. He came in the league as a slasher and a defender, and he has become one of the better shot creators in the league. He has become a phenomenal two-way player, and now this year, as he said, he was the focal point of being the leader and the voice of a locker room. So his growth has transcended what his legacy was when he came into the league to what it is now, and that championship cements it. And I think, unfortunately, the Celtics had to face, like I said, the backlash of other teams being unhealthy and not getting their star caliber players on the court and able to contend to make it to an Eastern Conference Finals or an NBA championship. And a lot of people outside of the Boston fan base use the Celtics as a blame for that. Like, y'all didn't do anything impressive. Y'all were just the healthiest team in the playoffs. So the title isn't a highlight of you being the best team in the East. It was more so that you were the healthiest team. And at that point, that's what a lot of people have been saying, and that's the noise.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I understand that as a fan, as a consumer of a product, anything sports related, we like to see close matchups. We like to have that adrenaline, like almost like we playing. A bite in the nails, pacing back and forth. This game is going down to the wire. Guys are trading shot for shot. The Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell back and forth in the fourth quarter. We want to see that. The Cavaliers coming back down from 3-1. LeBron James hit that or blocked Iguodala's shot. Okay, and Kyrie Irving pulled up and knocked down that cold-blooded shot in the fourth quarter, win the game. We love to see that. But it's very rare that we see a team in basketball from the start of the preseason just dominate the league and actually cap it off. And I think we need to pay homage to that. We need to acknowledge that and have a profound respect for that. Because the same Boston team, you know what they remind me of? But this time, finishing the job, that New England team in New England, in Boston, in the Patriots, I'm talking about here in the NFL, 2007, we went undefeated. And then we lost in the biggest game to the Giants. We had no business losing to the Giants. We had Randy Moss and Tom Brady. They had Eli and Plaxico Burress, who shot himself in the daggone foot after. Okay, we never heard about this cat again. But they finished the job, the Celtics did, to cap off for dominating regular season and playoffs. So I think we do need to give them credit. Now, as far as attacking the question here about Tatum and Brown, I think for me, when you look at who won the championship, when you look at the name, right? Because there's no Nikola Jokic, right? Is no Steph Curry, it's no LeBron James. And I said it before they won the championship, that somebody was going to do something that was very different, which will end up being an anomaly in the sense that a star is going to win a championship before they win an MVP. And it's going to be different. And that's what Tatum and Brown was able to do, win a championship before either of these guys won an MVP. Why is that important? Where am I going with that in translation and correlation to this question is that now that Brown and Tatum won a championship and got that monkey off their back, they have an opportunity to have access to higher achievements individually now. For example, they're already the best team in basketball. They should have a leg up in the MVP race, one of these guys, Tatum. But then obviously you're going to have that conundrum where it's like, okay, Brown is improving every single year. And some people are arguing he's the best Celtic. Is that going to knock off one of the others for winning an MVP award? You do got that in consideration that you got to take in consideration. But I think for Brown, he has an opportunity to be an all NBA player again, and make an all NBA team. He didn't this year. Defensively, what he did on Luka, he has an opportunity to do that this year. Okay, be all NBA defense as well. And I do think Tatum would probably be the one because a lot of people give Tatum the credit to potentially try to win an MVP. I think both of these guys, when you look at the finals real quickly here, with Tatum, he's very good at reading coverage, and he did not allow his struggling shooting to affect him, to affect his game, to affect his impact. Him and Brown constantly made the right play and got teammates opportunities with the gravity that they pulled and being unselfish and being a playmaker. I thought that Brown, his defense on Luka won him the MVP, being able to be consistent with Luka and getting a couple steals and picking him up full court and really giving the Celtics an opportunity to not have to blitz the Mavericks and double up on Luka, which allowed them to take away the open shooters and things of that nature that the Mavericks like literally made a living off of, those open shooters and the lob threats, alongside what Luka was doing, cooking up individually, him and Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving was not in this series. He had a terrible series. So I think when you look at both of these guys and what this could mean for their legacies, I think it just gives them more access to individual achievements. And I think they deserve, to win this championship. And I think they really took the next leap of not only experience and getting over the hump, but in their games, both of them. So I'll leave it at that.
It's just so interesting how, like you said, we said it before, or we already said it earlier in the show, before the show how these guys, the Celtics, they won a championship, and then everyone stopped talking about it, like literally the next day. Like ESPN was even like going crazy and covering like, oh, Tatum now solidified his legacy, or Jaylen Brown solidified his legacy, or Porzingis finally got a ring, or Drew Holiday, the difference maker, he brought another franchise ring. None of these kind of conversations happened. Even Derek White, he had a phenomenal playoff series,
Yeah,
playoff, excuse me. He had a phenomenal NBA Finals. And nothing like it was just like no hype around this Boston Celtics
let
team
me ask you
for
this
whatever reason.
question, Zay. I don't mean to like barge in here, but I
Go
think
ahead.
it's a very good question. Do you think the reason why Jaylen Brown and Tatum are not getting a lot of love, or the Celtics team is not getting a lot of love, rather, is because Tatum and Brown had a lot of help? When you look at the series, you had those contributors like Derek White, you had Drew Holiday, even Kristaps gave some assistance as well. You have other guys like Xavier Tillman, you had Peyton Pritchard, who had a moment where he had that half court buzzer beater. Do you think it's because they had a lot of assistance and a lot of people don't really look at it as, okay, they carried the Boston Celtics to a championship?
Not at all. I don't see it as that because we have to understand that this Boston Celtics paid five guys their starting lineup because they're gonna play the bulk of the minutes. They're gonna be the crutch of that team. And I think everyone else who was a part of it played their role extremely well. I think you could make the argument that Tatum and Brown played so well that it made the role player's job a lot easier to get things done. Drew Holiday wasn't really required to be an elite scorer. He wasn't required to do anything but play defense, get the hustle plays, and then get the
And get the
easy
easy
buckets.
layups. Yep.
So I think it's one thing as I'm a Knicks fan, right? And I'm completely biased when it comes to anything Boston, but just to take the bias hat off and just look at what the Celtics did this playoffs, it was basically because Tatum and Brown played extremely well and it allowed other guys to that just easier make their jobs a lot easier. They were they were the engine to the train, and everyone else was able to just kind of coast while they was reaching their destination, and that was just a good thing for the team. I think a lot of people watching the Celtics play, we say a lot of different things about that team because we want to see them lose, of course. But when you really like look at it from a fan perspective of the game, they played extremely well. Um um they didn't like shy away from the lights. They played to their level of talent and even exceeded it when they needed to get deep runs into the NBA Finals. So I think a lot of people just have to just give them their kudos. Like they won the game despite who they played. They won the game, but they deserve more praise for winning the NBA Finals, opposed to just staying quiet about it and just saying,
Yeah,
"Well, this
I
is what's
agree.
supposed to happen."
I mean, I agree 1000%, but it's not happening. Nobody's talking about this no more. And that's what we're trying to figure out
And
here.
that's why here at 99 Pod, we're different. We're
Yeah,
talking about it.
yeah, definitely. That's what we do here. That's what makes us unique. And I think for me, I do got to give credit to Brad Stevens, right, for putting this team and assembling this team together. Full of defensive versatility, perimeter shooting,
Mhm.
and having just versatile pieces around the star players. A lot of people were saying break him up, break Tatum and Brown up. A lot of people get antsy and impatient, right? You would think they went on the finals run. They showed that they could be on that stage. They should have won the finals against the Warriors.
Mhm.
That would calm people down and show people that yeah, they can actually win a championship together because it got there to that very point. But still, people was like break them up, break them up. And yet, Brad Stevens was able to put a very good, versatile team together around these guys that allowed them to not have to deal with a lot of pressure and responsibilities. It allowed them to play free and open things up for those core surrounding subordinating pieces. And I think for me, it just has to be a lot of credit given, to Boston and overcoming the the perseverance. And I think it should set a precedent to the other teams around the league that you're not gonna always win a championship with your core two stars right away. Like it's not. It took them 7 years, right? It took the Nuggets some time before they won it. I think this should be something that's celebrated, but once again, nobody's really talking about it. And if nobody's talking about it, say one more time, what does that mean for their legacies if nobody's talking about it?
I mean,
Does it have an effect on their legacy?
I think when we look back at it, it's going to be one of the most overlooked championship runs in our NBA, in our time, in our lifetime. One of the most overlooked, and I think A lot of people when they're rewatching the series and stuff, they'll be like, "Nah, this team was actually something to marvel at for sure." And I'm interested to see what happens down the line. I want to see what happens like the next 5 years if people even talk about this Boston Celtics championship. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen.
I mean, it's almost like they want to erase it from the history books, like it never
You would have
happened.
thought this team only won the in-season tournament. The way no one's talking, it's crazy.
Yeah, literally.
It's wild.
I mean, did the Lakers get more attention for winning a preseason tournament than the Celtics are getting right now? It feels like that. And it's funny because to respond to this comment here, that's a very interesting comment. I think a lot of people was preying on the downfall of Boston right now. That's what it seemed like to me, But Zay, I guess we can move on here.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, or leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.